Also in immigration detention tonight is a convicted killer who went straight there from jail because of uncertainties over whether he'll face the death penalty in the United States. Gabe Watson has served 18 months for the manslaughter of his newlywed bride while scuba diving off the North Queensland coast in 2003. Authorities in his home state of Alabama have said they may prosecute him on return to the US. Although the Alabama Attorney General has told the Queensland government it will not seek the death penalty, the federal government will seek a similar assurance from federal US authorities. And until that happens, Gabe Watson looks set to remain in Australia. Peter McCutcheon reports from Brisbane.
From the solitude of a jail cell to the glare of the international media. Former bubble wrap salesman and convicted killer Gabe Watson this morning was escorted from the Barallan Correctional Centre west of Brisbane. Although this US citizen has served his time, he's still being pursued for the crime.
In terms of the Queensland criminal jurisdiction's concern, he's a free man, but as we know, he's not.
The man dubbed the honeymoon killer has stepped out of prison and into a legal limbo.
It obviously is a very unusual case. It also brings in a little bit of the law of double jeopardy.
After serving 18 months prison for the manslaughter of his wife, Gabe Watson now faces a prospect of an extended stay in an immigration detention centre because of doubts over whether he could face the death penalty back home in Alabama.
He does not have a valid visa to be in Australia, therefore he will be in immigration detention.
7 years ago, newlyweds Gabe and Tina Watson went on a scuba diving tour off Townsville. The couple dived together, but Tina Watson never made it back to the surface alive. Her husband, who was trained in rescuing distressed divers, was left to explain why he abandoned his bride when he saw she was in trouble.
I just can't help but think that the fight against the current is what allowed whatever thing took place that caused her to either black out or whatever and sink.
Queensland authorities originally charged Watson with murder, but later accepted his guilty plea to a lesser charge of manslaughter after he voluntarily returned to Australia. He was sentenced to 1 year's imprisonment, extended to 18 months on appeal, much to the bitter disappointment of Tina Watson's family.
Today, he's allowed to take the easy way out. He pleads guilty to manslaughter. And then laughingly, it looks like he was the victim as the sentence was being read.
You sent me the Department of Justice's response.
Authorities in Watson's home state of Alabama made no secret of the fact that they would like to conduct their own prosecution.
What we're seeking to do is to protect Tina, and not just to protect Tina, but to honor her memory with a just sentence. I don't believe she got that in Australia, and I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure she does get it back at home in Alabama.
But the sticking point in getting cooperation from Australian authorities in this investigation was Australia's insistence that Gabe Watson not face the death penalty.
Well, they're saying now that if we still refuse to budge on the death penalty, that they want to keep him, and they're going to allow him to stay in Queensland.
If that's their position, then Attorney General Troy King's going to have to make the decision whether or not to remove the death penalty permanently.
Shortly after Australian Story recorded this exchange, the Alabama Attorney General did indeed give an undertaking to remove the death penalty to the Queensland Attorney General. But that's not good enough for the Australian government.
As a national government, we need to receive a similar undertaking from the government of the United States, which we're in the process of seeking from them. Once we have that, then I would take steps to deport him expeditiously to the United States.
Gabe Watson's lawyer is unimpressed, pointing out that Alabama made it clear it was intending to prosecute 12 months ago.
I'm not happy with the fact that, this has only come to light only moments before his release. It's something that should have been considered.
Australia's sort of between a rock and a hard place. There's no legal basis for him to remain in Australia, but to deport him back to America where he could potentially face the death penalty goes against Australia's international obligations.
Professor Michael Lavarch is the Executive Dean of Law at the Queensland University of Technology and a former Federal Attorney General. He says the most likely outcome to this impasse is that the US government will give Australia the undertaking it's seeking.
So it's Canberra and Washington where these conversations take place and where the agreement is reached. And it's up to the Americans to get their back-of-office functions sorted out in terms of Alabama and the national government reaching a position which is communicated to Australia.
Dressed in a green South Sydney top, Gabe Watson was escorted by police from Brisbane to Melbourne to spending tonight in the Maribyrnong Detention Centre, an indefinite sentence to illegal no man's land.
The only thing I've been told is that it could take weeks or it could take months. So as to that, I'm not sure.
Between extradition, the law of immigration, some criminal law around double jeopardy, it really is quite a minefield in terms of how this one's going to play out.
Peter McCutcheon with that report.